do you want Farage to be the next Prime Minister? Get your calls in now. Let me know your thoughts. Now, let me show you why we're talking about this. Here are the results of a new YouGov poll for Sky News. So this is what's called an MRP poll, so it looks constituency to constituency. So if an election were held tomorrow, Reform would win the most seats, although it would be slightly short of a majority. So technically, this would be a hung parliament. Well, Labour would come in second, followed by the Lib Dems, and you could see the Conservatives languishing in fourth place. This would be the worst result for the Tories in their 190-year modern history. Now, it would be a significant loss for Labour too. Starmer's party would lose roughly 2/3 of its existing seats. Meanwhile, Reform would gain a record number. Now, Farage's popularity has only climbed over the last year. So, Belinda, let's get it out there officially. Of course, you are a Reform supporter. I'm assuming that this is great news for you.
It is great news. I mean, I'm sure there will be peaks and troughs along the way, but it doesn't surprise me at all at the numbers we're seeing, the polling we're seeing. I think there's millions of Brits who look at the legacy parties, look at Westminster and just see it as kaput, not working anymore, not working for the British people. The money's not going to who it's supposed to go to. The Uni Party, it's all high taxes, high immigration, global governance. And I think the British people are rejecting that, and they see Nigel, who possesses the qualities that have been so absent in Westminster for decades, courage of conviction, belief in free speech and democracy, and letting the British people have a greater stake in the laws they live under, as opposed to constantly...
Though, I've got to interrupt there. I mean, in 2021, he stood down as leader of Reform and said, I can have more of an impact on the country through my social media and television appearances. I'm leaving politics.
Well, perhaps
that was like 3.5 years ago.
I think the criticism
that's not a politician of conviction, is it?
30 years worth of his CV, just look, he has always put the British national interest first above global applause. He's not interested in kneeling and submitting to the liberal global stage and putting British people and jobs at risk. He's interested in giving British people back the power.
OK, before I go to Andy, I think it's one very important question to ask you personally. This poll says that Reform would end up with 311 MPs. I'm not quite sure they've got 311 candidates just yet. Would you be stepping forward as a Reform UK MP candidate?
If I was asked, I would always do my duty in service to the country and feel like to be part of that incredible people's army that will enact seismic change that this country needs.
So no, because
it's not for me to say. There could be someone far better than me.
Well, they need 311 people.
But of course, if I was asked and I was best for the job, I believe that I would.
OK, Andy, your thoughts? I mean, it looks like Nigel Farage is...
Do you think they should be doing better? Shouldn't they? I mean, I think with all of the noise and furore around how dreadful Labour are and they've failed everyone and the Conservatives are dead, I mean, shouldn't they just have a clear majority? This seems to me actually as a disappointing result for anyone who supports Reform.
Andy, we're only 4 years old. I mean, it's a very, very young new party. I think we're probably historic.
We've got 3 years to go for the next election. I just think this is possibly going to be, a high point maybe for the polling because we've got a long way to go. The point being made about candidates and who's actually going to stand for this party, the problem I think for Farage and Reform is that we've got a test case with the local councils and how they're being run, and the quality of candidates and the people who are finding themselves in positions of power in the councils is already proving itself to be deleterious to the areas that are being governed. So we're going to be able to see in 3 years' time, well, if you vote in Reform, you're not going to get capable politicians. You're going to get people who want to step up because of single-issue politics. And let's face it, that is immigration.
You mentioned earlier, Belinda, that the legacy parties, I'm assuming you're talking about the Conservatives, Labour, the traditional two-party system, of course the Lib Dems, who've also been around for a very long time. But do Reform have an issue? Again, 311 MPs they're projected to get. That's a lot of people to vet, to put forward. And what we've been seeing, and I think we're going to see a lot more of it, you probably know more about this than I do, is defections from the Conservative Party. We saw Danny Kruger, we've got Jake Berry, we've got Lee Anderson, we've got Nadine Dorries, Andrea Jenkins. We've got quite a lot of former Conservative politicians becoming reform politicians, how are you going to be saying to people, well, hang on a minute, we're not the same from the legacy, the Tories, if you're becoming the Tories?
Well, we're not. Right? There are a handful of Conservative MPs who are absolutely, who share our values, beliefs, policies completely. They are definitely the minority in the Conservative Party. As I said, it is just a handful. The bar is set very high for those who actually want to step over the threshold into reform and be part of policy making, like Danny Kruger. Just look at his voting history. You know, I'm so pleased he came over. We also have to be a serious party that appeals to both Labour and Conservative. And of course, a Labour councillor just crossed the threshold over to reform last week. I think we'll take from everyone.
Before we go to the calls, just want to show you just another quick poll, because this is all to do with perhaps personalities. Undoubted that Nigel Farage is a very, very popular figure in politics. This is a poll carried out with More in Common. 28 to 25, you can see the colours there. Reform lead the Labour Party by 3 points. However, when asked if you change the Labour leader, so if you put Andy Burnham in charge, a lot of chat about that, we spoke about it on the show yesterday, then you have a reversal. You have Labour leading reform by 2 points. Andy, do Labour need to act, particularly after this poll, which shows a hung parliament, but the Reform Party really running away with it, really, even though they don't get a majority? Do they need to start thinking about something as drastic as this?
I don't agree with all of the policies that Keir Starmer has presided over, the winter fuel allowance, giving that back, not removing it. I disagree with that. And I disagree with his stance on Israel-Palestine. But, however, I do think that we are seeing a great deal of movement on NHS waiting lists, are down by millions. Investment is going in the right places. We've had £150 billion of investment from the United States announced. There are things happening, and these take time to come to fruition. You know, the Labour Party's only been in power for about a year. It takes a long time to turn things around. Let's face it, after 14 years of the Tories, that's a big ship to try and turn into the right direction.
They had years
and I
in
think
opposition
when we come into government, you are facing the reality of government, and the reality is we are facing a shrinking economy and a shrinking global economy for a start, and also a very divisive society. And one of the things, I have to say this, Belinda, as a gay man, one of the things that struck fear into my heart about what we are facing with reform is when Nigel Farage said most stable relationships, the ones that last longest, tend to be between men and women. That is statistically untrue. That is a homophobic statement. The statistics show that marriages between men last longer than between men and women. So why is he stoking homophobia with false statistics? And I'm supposed to trust him as my Prime Minister?
I don't think he's stoking homophobia at all. I think you can have a right to your own opinions about
it's not an opinion, it's a statistic. It was factually untrue. And it's that sort of populist nonsense that we expect from Trump.
The idea that there is anything homophobic about the Reform Party. Our chairman's, Dr. David Bull, obviously is a gay man.
But the leader of the party is spreading misinformation, and it's that sort of thing. I don't want to just make it about me and about gay men. Right. It's about all minority groups in this country are looking at Nigel Farage and asking themselves, are we safe with this leader? OK, let's hear what people are saying at home. Douglas is in West Sussex. Douglas, good morning. Welcome to the show. What are your thoughts on this? We've seen this big poll. Reform are surging in the polls. Would you give Nigel Farage your vote?
Definitely. Yes, yes, and thrice yes.
Right.
The alternative to a reform government is mass immigration. The other two parties haven't got a clue how to put an end to it. Mm-hmm. The population will reach 100,000 in probably 10 years' time. There'll be mass unemployment, mass demonstrations and riots. We need Nigel. It's not a case of do you want him as Prime Minister? We need him as the saviour of Great Britain.
So you need him because you want immigration to fall?
I want it to stop.
You want to stop immigration completely?
Yes.
So are we talking, Douglas, are we talking about asylum seekers here, so the people coming in on boats, or are you talking about all immigration?
All immigration.
OK, so here's a question for you, Douglas. So here's a question for you, Douglas. At the moment, the birth rate is very low. It's about 1.5. In order to sustain, to keep us where we're at, to keep the number of the population the same, you need just above 2.1. At the moment, it's 1.5.
Rubbish.
If we continue to decline in population and you're not letting any people in, who's going to do the jobs that we need in the NHS, in social care, infrastructure building? We need to build 1.5 million homes. Where are these people going to come from if you stop immigration completely as you would like?
Right, we've got 9 million people doing nothing, languishing on benefits.
Even if you put them to work, Douglas, and a lot of them can't work because they're not well enough to work, but even if you put them to work, you still don't have enough people because the population's declining.
Yes, but AI, artificial intelligence...
AI is going to build your house.
Sorry, can I just come in quickly? Douglas,
yes,
can I ask you... Douglas, I'm sorry we're going to AI. You are aware that the Reform Contract with the People, its own manifesto, is not promising an end to migration. It is actually promising a continuation of migration. That's why the former Reform MP, Rupert Lowe, is so angry at Nigel Farage.
Smart immigration over mass immigration.
Smart immigration. What does that mean? That means immigration for people to work in the NHS,
Go on, Douglas.
for instance.
Go on, Douglas.
Andy, I didn't say stop immigration forever. I said we need a 3-year hiatus so that we can sort out and get rid of the millions.
But reform's not going to give you that, Douglas.
How do you know? You don't
because
know
it's
anything
not.
about
It's not saying. It's not
Belinda. Belinda's here.
So reform, as I believe, as I see it, believes in smart immigration. That is, highly skilled people who come here and pay their own way and contribute, like it used to be in the 90s before Blair got in. We only had about 45,000 every year, and our NHS was in a much better state
from refugees,
than it is
that's what we have now.
Now, I'm just talking, and I want to just say about your sort of reason for mass immigration being low birth rate. I'm sorry, but that is. We should be concentrating on how to make it easier for British families to have more children, give them tax breaks. It's a giant Ponzi scheme just opening to infinity immigration who will then get old, need pensions and support. It's absolutely madness, and I think it's unmaking England.
OK, thank you, Douglas. Thank you so much for kicking us off. Now, I should say, actually, that the population of the UK has actually grown by more than 750,000. That's the second largest annual rise in 75 years. A record 69.3 million people were in the country in June last year. Most of this was down to international migration. The difference between births and deaths accounted for a small proportion. So, Douglas, thank you so much for kicking us off. Great call to start with. Judy is in Buckinghamshire. Judy, welcome to the show. Are you going to be one of those Nigel Farage supporters? Are you one of those people supporting Reform UK in today's poll?
I most definitely am not one of Nigel Farage's supporters.
Why not, Judy?
Definitely because he's too friendly with Donald Trump. And I do not like Donald Trump. And most of the people in my circle of friends and acquaintances do not like Donald Trump either.
Judy, you make a fine point. Belinda, a lot of people have asked, historically, we know that Nigel Farage has been very close to Donald Trump. He's campaigned for Donald Trump. There's no reason to pretend otherwise. But as Judy's pointing out, and if you look at all the polling, even polling amongst Reform supporters, Donald Trump is not a popular figure. So why is Nigel Farage still supporting Donald Trump?
Well, I think they are friends.
Sure.
So I think that's slightly separate.
But politically, it might be doing him damage.
Well, Keir's been schmoozing up to Trump like never before in the last few weeks. Does it mean that Judy doesn't like Keir as well? I mean, there are certain things you do as politicians in the best interests of your country. And I would say the kind of sins that you think Trump's committing, compare it to Keir Starmer and Labour, who voted against the grooming gang national inquiry, were dragged kicking and screaming to give justice to rape victims. These things, I'm just saying, you can't just demonise Trump as being this evil creature.
Sure.
We have bad eggs in our own parliament that don't get the same scrutiny.
I take your point. But very recently, for example, we had Donald Trump. Judy was saying she doesn't like Donald Trump, but Donald Trump saying, for example, that pregnant women should not be taking Tylenol, which in this country would be paracetamol, because of its links to autism. Now, scientists say there are no links to autism. There's plenty of studies showing that there aren't any links. But Nigel Farage, when asked directly whether he supported the president, he kind of dodged the question. He said, well, I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know. I don't side with anyone's science. Science is constantly changing. So Does he agree with the president that paracetamol is linked to autism for pregnant women?
I think saying I don't know was the most honest answer we've probably had from a politician.
But science tells us that they do know.
Well, you say that. This time last year, the UK medical experts believed that chickenpox vaccine had a link to shingles, which is why we didn't have it open to the public back then. And they changed their minds. You compare it to the rest of the world. Medical experts can different opinions. Science can be evolving and changing.
It's just part of dangerous rhetoric around
it's
dog
really
whistle
not.
politics.
Already has advertised saying do not take it if you're
let's
pregnant.
get people talking about things that are emotional rather than political, because that's the Donald Trump playbook, and that's how he came to power. And Nigel Farage knows very well that's what he's doing too. So he sows these little seeds of division and doubt around truth, around fact. I don't know is not a good enough answer for someone who's planning to be the next Prime Minister of this country on such a serious issue. All
right, Judy, thank you. Alice is in Manchester. Alice, what are your thoughts?
Yes, good morning, Alexis. I certainly am for Nigel Farage. I'll be honest with you, I'm not a great fan of him from a personal point of view.
Sure.
I do think he goes where the money is, but he's a very clever man, and I think he is very capable. And for me, the issue of immigration, I know that Andy keeps saying, oh, it's a single issue, blah, 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 but it is important. And, by the way, and we've spoken many times before, you may not remember, I am a woman of colour. I'm originally from India. And so, I do believe it is a very important point. And it's also the illegal migrants is something that we need to sort out. And as for his view on freezing non-essential immigration, it is very important that we bring over, immigrants that are going to be able to benefit this country in terms of, doctors and nurses and other professionals. So, and then, of course, there are lots of other things that I agree with him on, like, scrapping HS2 and various other things.
Do you think that, can I ask you, do you think that Nigel Farage should be promising to maintain the triple lock on pensions? Because he isn't. Are you aware of this, I wonder, that the boomer generation that think that Nigel Farage is the second coming of Jesus Christ isn't actually guaranteeing their pension?
Sorry, can I just answer your question, the first one? Listen, calm down.
I know.
Go on, Alice.
I've just become a pensioner myself in March of this year. So, I'm not sure myself, because I realise, of course, that it's easy for someone like myself who's now retired to sit back, and I'm not sure.
Okay.
From my point of view, it would benefit me, obviously.
All right, Alice, thank you. Let's move on to Jean in Northumberland. Plenty of people waiting to speak to us. Jean, welcome to the show. What are your thoughts?
I would never, ever vote for Farage. I think he's a wicked, evil man. He is all out for himself. Mm-hmm. He is a racist, which has been shown many, many years. He hasn't any policies. He's against the National Health Service, which saved my husband many times in his lifetime.
Right.
We would not be able to get a health insurance because of his particular illness.
You're referring to Nigel Farage having mentioned that perhaps we need to think, there's a clip going around of him, it was said a while back, that perhaps we need to think about an American system when it comes to our health service. I should say that if Nigel Farage was here, he would vehemently deny that he is a racist or that he has any racist policies. It's important to say that.
No, he's never said it. I would love to know what you have heard him say at all. Just give me one example of him being racist and the idea that he's evil and wicked. I worry that people have created this monster in their head that doesn't exist and now are afraid of this image. He's not a monster. He just wants to bat for the domestic workforce in this country first. There's nothing evil about that.
All right, I have to step in only because we are very, very tight on time.